All right, it is Monday, June 8th, 2026. It is Motivated Monday. So, hey, we're going to start off with a question. How many days do you wake up feeling motivated? I'm guessing not many unless you're a morning person, right? Motivation is unreliable. Energy is unreliable. Confidence, that can be unreliable. And if your business depends on any of those things, showing up every day, eventually your income can disappear. This weekend I ran a race and I was slower than I usually am, right? Slower than I wanted to be. And I have my reasons. My ankle, it's still not fully healed, right? Training hasn't been where it needs to be. I'm tired. I'm beat up. And almost every day there is that voice. Skip today. Take it easy. Start tomorrow. And tomorrow never built anything. What keeps me moving is not motivation anymore. It's systems, tracking the work, looking at the calendar, knowing what got done and what did not. Minimum standards. Because when your systems are strong, they carry you when your mindset is weak. So today is not about being motivated. Today is about building a business and a life that function even when you don't feel like it, because your business should support you, not your mood. Good morning, Miss Fati. So today we're talking about building a business that runs without you, right? Your business should support you and should not depend on your mood. Talk about minimum standards, income protection, and systemization, right? So when you look at your business, Ms. Fati, are you there? Maybe just logged in and listening in. So, hey, we'll keep it going
Yes,
then.
I'm here.
All right. So, everybody has goals, right? A lot of people, they don't have standards. Goals are what you hope happen. Standards are what happen no matter what. Your non-negotiables are the actions that happen, whether you're tired, frustrated, injured, overwhelmed, or simply not feeling it. Because if your activity changes every time your emotions change, your results will too. Your minimum standards protect momentum. Maybe it's 5 conversations. Maybe it's 1 hour of lead gen. Maybe it's one workout. Maybe it's follow up before social media. Small standards repeated consistently create outcomes people call discipline. So, what are your non negotiables when it comes to your business? I can say, for me, my non negotiables are my follow up and my YouTube creation. Um, I've been very consistent with both of those, and I make sure those happen. Sometimes a little more chaotic than I like with the YouTube, but it gets done. But what about you? Do you have any non negotiables for your business?
My events,
Okay. So how
um, by consistently making sure that they happen, making sure that something is happening around whether it's feeding the homeless,
hmm
or just showing up to events and connecting with people at events,
Okay.
and just everything else that I have going on.
Now with the showing up and connecting with people at events, do you have a follow-up system for them?
So I'm creating that right now.
hmm
Um, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's probably again, the follow-up is the most important thing. I can't stress that enough. Um, you know, I stress the proactive with the calls, but you definitely need the, indirect or, when it comes to emails or social media touches, whatever. Well, if you're specifically commenting on people's pages, that's more direct. But, the emails people may not open, but they still see your name. if you're doing some sort of weekly email. So the follow up, again, I've made, not an exaggeration, over 200,000 cold calls. And not once did someone say, come sell my home today. And ultimately, I think that's proof is in the pudding. Um, that it's in the follow up, and it's however you follow up, especially in this industry where you need 7 to 12 conversations with someone before you get the opportunity to have the conversation about doing a deal. And so right there, and if the average salesperson follows up 1.5 times, and you see where everyone is failing. So where do standards slip, right? Because most people, they don't lose all momentum, their momentum all at once. It slows, like day by day. A skip day becomes two. One missed follow up becomes 10 missed follow ups. You stop tracking, you stop measuring. Eventually, you stop knowing where the problem even started. Standards rarely break during easy seasons. They break when business gets hard, when you're stressed, when business slows, when you're tired. That's why awareness matters, because you can't fix what you refuse to identify. You have to honestly look at your week. You have to honestly look at your habits. Where are you giving yourself permission to drift? Where do you think your standards slip? I can say for a lot of people, it's in what I can do tomorrow. I can do that tomorrow. I can skip it today. One of the things I like to say is, you can't skip today's calls today. Today's calls are today's calls. That's who you would have connected with today. Who will you connect with tomorrow? That's tomorrow's calls. So where do you think your standards slip?
Um, I let my personal stuff get in the way to where I end up being really exhausted and depleted. So I think for me, it's just to not let the personal stuff like get in the way of my now,
Mm-hmm.
and focusing on my now and what I can do right now. Um, Reminding myself my why. And if I didn't make today's calls, then I didn't make today's call. So I'm not gonna try to play catch up the following day. I'm just gonna do what that day requires of me to do.
Well, I think you still need to make it up, right? If we talk about, if you erase, you replace in this business.
Yeah, but you
You
could
know,
say that about like anything. So I feel like for me personally, like there's just so many follow-ups that need to be done. There's no way to like simplify it. So if I beat myself up, and this is just a thought. I mean, you've been doing this longer than I have, so that's why I'm joining this call.
hmm
But I
but
feel like if I'm beating myself up about what I didn't do yesterday, then how am I going to get today done?
no, it's not about beating yourself up. It's just saying, like, let me get it done, right? If you have a checklist of 10 people to call and you didn't call 8 of them yesterday, then it's easy to check them off today, or even, one of the things I do is, you know, over the weekend, a lot of times 30 or 40 tasks will go undone, but that's only because those are 90-day follow-ups, which means, it's not as big a deal that they didn't get called over the weekend, because it's just a 3-month check-in. So if I have a task of 60 tasks that didn't get done over the course of the weekend, unless I try and knock out 12 of those calls today, 12 of them tomorrow, 12 of them the next day. What can be pushed that was supposed to happen as a follow-up? Because again, if you were supposed to follow up with someone, one of the big things is just by showing up and doing what you say you're going to do is what helps build trust. And with people that, especially with people that don't know you. And I can say, just by doing those follow-ups every 90 days, I've had so many people say, Tony, we have a relationship. I don't even know you, but you're my guy. I've never met you, but not that I don't know. I've never. Oh, microphone is okay. For some reason, connected, disconnected. Um, so ultimately you need to make sure you're doing the important follow-ups, but even the ones that feel less important, because that over time is what's going to build the trust in the people that you're doing business with. And that's going to come from systems, right? What systems are going to protect you? Because systems are boring, right? Until they save you. People who survive hard seasons are not always the most motivated people, and they are organized. They use their calendars, their checklists, their follow-up plans. They're tracking and they're using automation and, daily and weekly scoreboards. Systems will absolutely remove decision fatigue. And decision fatigue is a real thing. It becomes harder to make a decision when we're exhausted. You talk about you let your personal life get in the way, and you want to try not to let that happen. We're not machines. We are human. And in any walk of life, any business, any profession, personal life does get in the way. Sometimes it can be easy to shut it off and ignore it, but over time, it will interfere in some way or another. But you do need to be better about, if you know that's an issue, then yeah, focus on that. Like, how do I separate that and to make sure I'm not letting personal get in the way of professional? Because ultimately, the more successful you are professionally, the more freedom it's going to give you personally, the easier it is to, I think, do more with your life. So if you have to decide every day whether you're going to do the work, you've already made it harder than it needs to be, which is why systems are so incredibly important. Your future income is sitting inside systems that you build today. So, what systems will protect you? For me, it's follow up. For me, it's building this channel. Um, you know, I haven't seen really any return from the YouTube channel yet. I've got it potential in the pipeline from it. I see where it's going.
How are you tracking growth?
Just views and and obviously subscribers is a great way to track growth, and I think interaction. But I've also tracked growth in just the quality of the videos. There's growth there, and how they are, everything that's put together. So at the
Do
same
you,
time, I do, that's one of those, I know it works on a long enough timeline. It was the same thing with cold calling. And there was a time when I felt like cold calling wasn't working, and I was worried that I was wasting my time. And then because I kept at it and I repeated a system that other people did, it paid off.
so what system are you using for your YouTube channel that can be replicated? Because you said that it's growing and I don't yeah, so what system are you using?
It's a system for organization, of how I'm tracking the shoots now, like where I've got the spreadsheet of the shoots of what I have shot, what I need to shoot for each shoot, and then that in that spreadsheet, then I can attach scripts to it. I can attach the files to it that I need to attach to it, so it's easy to reference. Um, and then the scripts, building the scripts, the systems that I've developed for that, where I am taking notes after the shoots to help formulate my ideas around the way the script's going to all finally come together when I do the desk segment. Um, and then from there, then it's on top of that, it's adding more layers in, and it's not just what I'm saying; it's the text that I've been having the editor add, like that is all been very intentional, and those are just layers and layers that help put together a more polished product for people.
How can
Um,
how can you track the growth in relation to it getting you leads? Because how do you track that? Like how do you make sure that the stuff that you're doing right now on the back end is really what is going to get you leads. Like, how are you tracking that?
I mean, I've seen growth in um, Google traffic on my website. And I can guarantee that is 100% connected to YouTube because over the course of 6 years of my website, not once, not once. I mean, rarely did I get a YouTube lead. Um, Over the course of, the last year and a half of doing YouTube, I've seen a steady uptick in Google traffic. So I know it's happening. Um, but yeah, until more deals come in, I can't fully track it. So I have to look at just where is retention um
What
on
is
the
your
video.
follow-up system with the leads that are coming through YouTube, and how are you balancing that with your follow-ups that you need to do for like your cold calling stuff? So
It's
how
just
do you balance, how do you figure all that out? How do you make
that
time to edit all the videos, all the scripts, and then, make your follow-up calls, and then you have your YouTube leads that are or traffic that's coming in. I mean, how do you do that? Like, and then
yeah,
on top of that, the title is building what is it? It's systems that run itself while you're not there. Like, how are you able to
I
is
don't
it,
have
is
this.
it working? Is
I
that
don't
working?
have I don't have the systems that's going to run itself yet, unfortunately. Like that is one of those. I definitely the business needs to grow. Now, as far as the follow-up systems, as soon as anyone comes into the CRM, they're automatically set up on a smart plan. So that's automatized. So it's like, hey, someone's input, boom, now they're on a 90-day follow-up. And there are other systems you can set them up on too. If you get an email where if they put their email address in, that they're getting, contacted through that as well. I try to, anytime I get a legitimate email, I try to add them just to the email list. That is my weekly email. That way they're getting that custom email every week. So it's just as people come in, leads come in, they're added to smart plans. And I follow up, they become a checklist, just like everything else. And then if they have, let's say, like for instance, one woman come in as a Google lead, start following up with her last September ish. Finally connected with her, I think in March, April, and she's like, "Oh, I bought a house." Like it was like one of those crazy, like it came out of nowhere. I didn't even think I was buying a house, and I ended up an open house and ended up buying. So, but I say, okay, then she comes off the list as far as a follow up that needs to happen because he just bought a house. Now, of course, if I've got her email, I'm going to try and just get her stuck on the YouTube channel and you know keep marketing to her that way. That way, in 5 or 10 years, if she sees the YouTube channel, then she's or even if not in 5 years, she starts watching the YouTube channel, then ultimately, hopefully, she refers me to somebody else. I had the referral that came in from Covington, wherever it came in. You don't know where a referral is going to come from, but the woman was like, "Yeah, my sister met you at an open house, like last year or something." And I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive. I think the sister I got stuck on. I connected to the YouTube channel because I think I know who it was. Um, but you don't know where. So the more systems you have in place to potentially connect with people, the more layers you have, the better. But ultimately, it is a checklist. So the leads come in and they get set up on a smart plan. I don't have to think about who I'm calling. So that system right there is incredibly helpful. Yes, I don't have the business that runs itself when I'm not there. I want to get to that place. And unfortunately, this year has been slower than I would have hoped, given the way it started off with the number of listings I have. Um, and that's just part of the business. By the more you have in the pipeline, the more you're able to juggle, the easier it is to weather the hard times. So, what systems will protect you? Fati,
Yeah,
what systems will protect you?
I have no idea.
Automating your follow-up plans, systematizing those, and getting serious about having a follow-up plan will be incredibly helpful. You had an event this weekend, you know, 70 or so people came through. It was an amazing event. You did a great job with that event. You really did. And but none of that event matters if you don't have the follow-up for it. Um, so you know, so how are you going to follow up, right? And you've got, you had a list of people that checked in, right, that scanned in. You've got business cards, so I would make sure every single one of those people that was not a realtor, and even the realtors, right, you want to put any of the realtors that came, you're going to put on one list. That's going to be your broker open, because any of those realtors that came to it, they're going to, oh, here's the next one coming up, awesome, right? I'm going to tell people about it. This was a great event. People are going to talk about this event for sure. So you want to make sure you have your two different pipelines. One's the non-agent pipeline for this event. The other is the agent pipeline. All the artists that came to this event, all the artists' friends that came to this event, right? You want to make sure you're advertising to them, because even if they're not at the next event, right? They saw something really cool, and from all the artists I talked to, they want to be involved again. So you want to make sure you have a system to follow up to make sure they know about every single one. Um, and even if it's just one, when you're talking about shared interests, right? Um, Even if it's just an email list or a text list of people that are the artists, and you're going to go to an art show at one of the galleries. Hey, I'm going to this art show. Maybe you're going to be there, maybe you're not. I don't know. It doesn't matter if they're not there, but you're sending them something that's a shared interest, and that helps you stay top of mind without even being salesy. So making sure you're putting in place smart plans around the type of event. And again, for the car people that came, right? Awesome. Okay. Here's my email list for the car people that came. So that way, oh, there is going to be cars at this next event, or I'm going to be at Caffeine and Octane, whatever it is. Being intentional about who you're marketing to, I think, will be incredibly powerful for building on these events that you just created and had. That this obviously was not your first one, but I would say this is your first big one. Um, so I would absolutely say put some real thought into your follow-up plans this week on what happened this weekend and how you can continue to grow on that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So listen, here's what I want you to remember this week. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need endless motivation. You do not need to feel ready. You need standards. You need systems. You need enough structure that when life gets hard, and it will, your business keeps moving anyway. Because the people who win long term aren't always the fastest. Trust me, I wanted a better race time this weekend, all right? And they aren't the most, oh, they aren't always the most talented either. I definitely felt I never was. I definitely felt I just had to do things over and over again to get better at what I got good at. They're usually the people who simply keep showing up longer than anyone else. Protect your income, protect your goals, protect your future. Build systems that will work on the days that you don't want to. And when this call ends, don't wait for motivation. Open the calendar, open the CRM, open the notebook. Identify one system that you are going to strengthen today. Then go do the work. Because momentum is built by action, not emotion. I'm Tony Toich, signing off for Motivated Monday. Good morning and good luck.